So just going to take a brief look at this propaganda piece that was recently put out by the Fiveeyes intelligence services. Of course, they push this propaganda on YouTube. Most of the people who they use are either military connected or Freemasons or people from families relating to both Freemasonry and the military. And they use these puppets just to push lies to cover up certain things. One of the most important things is the involvement of law enforcement and the intelligence services in facilitating the distribution of narcotics throughout Canada. They don't want that getting out there on a wide level, that they're involved in that. And because Freemasonry does everything through deceit, corruption, lies, and inversion, these are the methods that they continue to stick to here. So we'll just do some brief commentary on this piece with this individual who claims to have military intelligence connections. Again, most people involved in military intelligence in Canada have connections to Masonry as well, but of course he's not going to tell you that because he's taken an oath of silence to his Masonic lodge, which supersedes everything else of importance within his life. So we'll just do some brief commentary here and point out the blatantly obvious lies in this state-funded intelligence agency propaganda here.
If I'm cartel or a foreign network, why Canada? Why is Canada a place to kind of set up shop for business and not the United States?
Well, I'll tell you this. Canada does not have the capability enforcement-wise to do much about it, but I'm going to be more specific.
Okay, so let's begin the lying right here, okay? He says Canada does not have the capabilities to do anything about it. Now, this is a ridiculous lie, and I can tell you why. We can prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that they have very advanced technology here to spy on their own, the government has, sorry, maybe not the government, the intelligence services and the RCMP have the capability to spy on their own citizens. That's on the record, okay? So they have that type of technology, but yet they don't have the capability to stop drugs from getting in over the border? That's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. It's completely illogical. Let's continue on with these obvious lies here.
Center of gravity for hybrid warfare in North America is Vancouver, British Columbia, and the Lower Mainland. To add to that, the RCMP, so our federal police, has 66% of its assets in that area. So for the rest of the entire country, the second largest country in the world, they have the rest of their assets spread across it. So in Vancouver, we have the Deepwater Port. We have the largest post-Shah Iranian diaspora in the world. So you have IRGC, Quds Force, Moist, all of those bad guys running around there, and they've been there for a long time.
All of those bad guys running around there, and they've been there for a long time. Gee, I wonder how they would be operating for a long time without the complicity of law enforcement, huh? I guess, was it due to law enforcement negligence? And again, he's bringing up Iran in this. Iran has absolutely nothing to do with how drugs are getting into Canada. It's completely absurd. They just bring in the most absurd lies and expect the public to accept this. And sadly, some people will.
We have the triads. We have all of the state actors. It is the biggest hotbed you've ever seen. It's a combination. This is a U.S. intel guy said this to me when we were working together. He said it's like a combination of Miami and Dubai because of the money movement and how it works, how complex it is. But get this one. In that province, a law enforcement officer cannot charge someone. They can arrest them and they can recommend charges, but then it goes to the government-run judicial system to decide if Crown wants to prosecute.
If the Crown wants to prosecute. And who exactly is the Crown? Well, it goes all the way up to the British royal family, the Crown, who can insert and remove Canadian politicians at their whim. If King Charles wants to remove a politician, he can do it at his whim. The Queen has already done that in the past in Australia. She literally removed a specific politician who wasn't properly doing her bidding. So when we talk about the Crown, what do we see right on the CSIS logo? Oh yeah, that's right. The symbol of the Crown. Right.
If Canada doesn't tighten up, what's the first thing that breaks in U.S. national security?
The first thing that breaks in U.S. national security?
Yeah, when it starts to spill over to us.
Oh, I hate to break it to you, but it's already spilled over to you.
When it spills over to us, says this military guy here with all of the interesting tattoos covering all of his arms and whatnot there. It's well documented that all prominent people within these military positions, or most prominent people in these military positions in the United States, are Freemasons, and naturally almost all of the people within these intelligence services positions who get to talk and who get promoted on YouTube like this are also connected with the Fiveeyes intelligence services and Freemasons as well, because it's interconnected. These occult systems are interconnected with the intelligence services, and that goes all the way back to Queen Elizabeth I and John Dee implementing the initial British intelligence services, which was deeply interconnected with the occult. Going all the way back there forward, moving forward from there, all of the intelligence services, including the CIA, have connections to Freemasonry and the occult, and that's irrefutable. And you can do a lot of research and find the facts about that. Okay, now they're not going to put that out there in a video like this because they don't want you to know that two of the actors discussing this are more than likely Freemasons who are just paid to lie and put on a show here and present this disinfo, try to present this disinfo as fact. And how long does it take before it gets over here, says the guy, the military guy with all the Masonic tattoos all over his arms, right? I mean, come on. Now, how stupid do these people think the audience are? It's obvious here that this guy's just putting on an act here. Is he intending to put this out there, thinking that even the most base level intelligence with an audience that an audience would be that stupid to not know that the CIA have been involved with trafficking narcotics for years? And how long does it take till it's over there in the United States? Are you kidding? Does this guy not know about the 1960s when the CIA were flooding the country with narcotics with help of law enforcement, because there were no police doing anything about that while they were openly distributing LSD and all of these narcotics in the United States? Does he not know about that? I mean, how stupid do you think the audience is when you bring these Freemasons out here and just give them a script like this? You got to at least try to give some modicums of truth. You know, I know that people have been really dumbed down and that they're brainwashed, but even for the most brainwashed person, you've got to be able to see through this. Now, there's no way that military guy is that stupid to think that how long before it gets over here. The United States is already flooded with narcotics, and all anyone has to do is do a video search for any of these major cities, and you'll see evidence of that, okay? So, again, I don't know how stupid the intelligence services that put this propaganda out there think their audiences are.
In the book that I wrote with my co-author Ina Mitchell, you're going to find a formerly classified document called Dragon Lord, and that is written by the DOJ, US DOJ, but it also includes FBI, DEA, and everyone else.
And let me guess, this fabricated document created by the intelligence services, because CSIS and the intelligence services create fake documents all the time. They fabricate entire court cases with these situations. For example, the trucker convoy staged trial of these people, Tamara Litch and these other people. It's completely staged. The whole trial was staged. It wasn't even a real trial. So if the intelligence services can do things like that, to spoof entire fake trials where they lie to the public and say that supposedly these people are going to do prison time when there's no evidence that they are, and now the same people who they're claiming were going to be imprisoned are now out working with rebel news. You got to be able to see through that and know that our intelligence services come up with fake documents to lie all the time. So he's talking about, what did he say, the FBI and the DOJ You mean the same FBI who's involved in targeting their own citizens, slandering their own citizens, and declaring law-abiding citizens domestic terrorists just for speaking the truth? Yeah, they wouldn't lie to you. The same way the RCMP, who target me just for putting out videos speaking the truth, harass me and stalk me everywhere I go, and subject me to surveillance within my home. Those people wouldn't lie and put out fake documents to falsely connect China with drug trafficking to cover up their own complicity in these crimes, would they? No, of course they wouldn't. So this so-called dragon document, it must be legitimate if the FBI, who are involved in staging fake terror attacks in their own country to deceive the citizens in coordination with the media, and who are involved in targeting their own citizens, say it's legitimate. And if they're a part of it, they'd never lie to you, would they, when they're literally involved in facilitating organized crime within their own country? I mean, come on. So the fact that he tells you we have documents connected to, the FBI and these intelligence services means absolutely nothing, because they create fabricated documents and lie about literally everything all the time. So of course they're going to lie to try to use China as some sort of scapegoat when they themselves are the ones involved in trafficking narcotics.
And they cite Canada as a national security threat to the United States, mainly from, in this instance, in this document, the Chinese influence that has been occurring in Canada. Now, I'm going to date this for you. It's 1987.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. So imagine this many years later where they're at. They identified politicians like by name in this document. So that's the premise for the book, is why Canada is a threat to the United States. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse, because now we see them working together with the Iranians and the cartel extensively.
Okay, so there he goes again. It's Iran and China, right? Iran and China. And they have to use these other countries as scapegoats because it's so blatantly obvious who's really doing this, okay? We all know who's really doing this. Anyone who has sense knows that this could not go on without the complicity of our law enforcement, federal law enforcement, and our intelligence services. They have too much sophisticated technology that is supposed to be used to monitor and track within the country, that it would not be possible for all of these drugs to get in if they were actually using this technology the way they claim it's being used, okay? So they're lying about the way they're using the technology, for one, because they're actually using it to spy on their own citizens, specifically citizens who they deem dissidents, people who speak the truth, people who expose corruption. They're spying on those people with this technology. Meanwhile, it's obvious that either one of two things is the case. Either all of our law enforcement and our intelligence services are completely incompetent, or they're allowing the drugs to get in. It could only be one of those two cases, okay? And I think it's very obvious which one it is, okay? Because they're not completely incompetent. We know that. They set up all these sophisticated psychological operations online to deceive you. So that would tell you that they're not completely incompetent, and that they know exactly what they're doing, and that they just extensively lie to you over and over and over again.
I mean, El Chapo had a headquarters in Canada.
El Chapo had a headquarters in Canada. Isn't that hilarious? I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but this is beyond ridiculous, the things that they're saying here. First of all, if you believe that actor who was playing that El Chapo character who got heavily promulgated in the media a few years back, if you believe he dug a tunnel to climb out of one of the tightest prisons in Mexico and somehow just got away, you're incredibly stupid. I'm sorry. This is an actor who they've used, this El Chapo character. He's about as real as the CIA actor that played the Bin Laden character, okay? And this is the lows that they're going to. They actually believe the public are this dumb to think that this actor had cartels or had some sort of a distribution center in Canada. You've got to be beyond stupid to believe any of this. Surely no one is that stupid. I guess El Chapo dug a tunnel into Canada to set up his distribution centers. Right? I mean, if you believe anything that this liar tells you, I've got some swampland in Florida to sell you, as the old saying goes.
Like there's a lot of things people aren't completely aware of. The way that the 'Ndrangheta, so the Italian mafia, worked with the cartels.
And he says the Italian mafia worked with the cartels. Well, where can the Italian mafia trace its origins to? Well, the founder of the Sicilian mafia was Giuseppe Mazzini, who was a very close friend of 33rd degree Freemason Albert Pike. Mazzini was also a high-level Freemason, and Albert Pike is one of the most important Freemasonic writers of all time, with his book Morals and Dogma. And there's a famous letter written by Albert Pike to Giuseppe Mazzini concerning many of the things that they were planning to come, for also referencing 3 world wars. But we won't go into that here, but nonetheless, we can provably trace the roots of the Sicilian Mafia to its founder, Giuseppe Mazzini, who is a Freemason with direct connections to high-level occult, to Freemasonry. So that's where that comes from. Is this supposed intel guy going to tell you that? No, he's going to conveniently omit that, because he doesn't want you to think that Freemasonry plays any role in these drug trafficking activities. And if you look it up, you can find pictures all around of John Gotti doing the hidden hand Freemasonic hand signal with the hand tucked inside the jacket. He's doing that constantly, and that is a Masonic hand signal. You can see that there's heaps of evidence of people who are directly connected to Freemasonry who are told to do that hand signal when in public and in front of the cameras. So we see more direct connections to Freemasonry and the Italian Mafia here, which this paid liar conveniently omits, of course.
The infiltration by most of those groups, especially CJNG, into Canada, because we know the I-5 corridor down the west coast of the United States was mainly run by the Sinaloa, but there's a lot more going on there. The Hells Angels used to have a drug line that would go down there, but guess what? They pissed them off because they did some bad things and they got shut off. So now you saw some of these outlaw motorcycle gangs start to splinter and try to find other cartels so they could keep their supply coming in. But that's the power of it. Outlaw motorcycle gangs are gangs until they connect with a national security level threat like the cartel, like the Chinese, or like the Iranians. And there are groups that have Iranians in them that are very relevant right now.
So first of all, a lot of these biker gangs are directly connected to the police and our intelligence services. They use some of these biker gangs to criminally stalk and harass people who've been placed on CSIS watch lists, and they also have direct connections to the military, because a lot of the people in these biker gangs are former military or associated with the military. So it's just absolutely ridiculous rubbish what this guy's saying. You can see some of these Ottawa cops with biker gang tattoos all over their arms, okay? It's just ridiculous. I don't know how stupid they could possibly think the public is to believe any of these lies. But again, this guy, his book is just absolute nonsense. It is funded by the Fiveeyes intelligence services. This propaganda is put out to cover the complicity of the criminal Freemasonic police. And of course, you'll notice you never heard anything about Freemasonry's involvement in the drug trafficking or with regards to crime in this whole segment, for obvious reasons. Instead, they come up with these ridiculous, non-existent boogeymen talking about Iran and China, who have absolutely nothing to do with these activities going on in Canada. And it's all just to run cover over the Fiveeyes intelligence services and CSIS and the RCMP involvement in criminal activities, as well as terrorizing their own citizens, which I show evidence of in my videos on a continual basis, of them sending police to stalk me, of them sending people to swarm and mob me everywhere I go. So what this guy has to say here holds no weight. He's just a paid liar, and this is what these intelligence services do. And so whenever you see any of these widely promoted videos on YouTube, you've got to know it's just the Fiveeyes intelligence services pushing this nonsense. And there's always some ulterior motive. But this one was beyond what I've seen before. It's just utterly, laughably ridiculous. And I don't see how anyone could believe any of this nonsense. Anyway, that's just a brief synopsis of what I saw in the video there. And just to briefly point out more absurd lies that this guy was trying to promulgate, he points out this situation where he's claiming that these cases aren't being prosecuted because of the Crown, right? And he's saying, oh, but police are making the arrests, but they're not prosecuting the people. And he's trying to make that out to be the situation, when in reality, this is all lies. First of all, what symbol do you see on so many of the police vehicles? The Crown, okay? They're connected with the Crown. What symbol do you see right on the CSIS logo? The Crown. This guy claims to be in military intelligence, so who is he himself connected with? The Crown. I mean, these people think you're completely stupid, and realistically, to believe this, I hate to say it, but you have to be. I mean, these lies are unbelievably, even a child should be able to figure this out, that this is nothing but nonsense. So he himself is connected to the Crown, and then he's telling you that it's the Crown that's blocking these drug cases from going through. Okay, so put two and two together. So CSIS connected with the Crown, working to ensure that drugs are freely distributed, which is exactly the point that I was making, right? It's absolute nonsense. So again, let's just reiterate that. He's saying that it's the Crown stopping these cases from going through. Oh, but the police are doing their jobs and arresting them. Sure. Okay, so if that's actually the case then, and it's the Crown intervening to allow these drug dealers to operate and to allow the drugs to flow, CSIS are representatives of the Crown. CSIS are involved in that. This man himself is connected with the Crown if he's in Canadian military intelligence. So he's involved in it, and CSIS is involved. It's just astonishing how stupid they think the public are. I just wanted to make that point, because that stands out. That is glaring. I mean, you got to be able to see through that. And not as if everything else this guy didn't say was a lie, but that's one whopper right there. I mean, that's blatantly obvious. And they really, really think the public are stupid to believe this stuff. And of course, the way they do this, in order to prop up these ridiculous lies that they're using to completely distort the truth and to cover up CSIS and RCMP and Canadian police involvement in the distribution of narcotics throughout the country, they have to use these people who they have online. It's so blatantly obvious when you look at the comment sections on YouTube that these are just people who are just paid to go in there and make these ridiculous comments to reinforce the narrative of our intelligence services, to reinforce the lies of the Fiveeyes intelligence services. This is how they distort perception management, because, when people look at this, they're going to think, well, if large segments of people are saying this and there's very few people speaking out against it, they're going to think, obviously, because there's more people lying, that somehow the lie is true. And it wouldn't matter if they had 10 million people all repeating these lies, telling you that snow is black and grass is purple. Would that mean that snow is black and grass is purple? No matter how many people they have repeating these lies, snow is still going to be white and grass is still going to be green. So no amount of lying is going to change the truth. If it's 10 million people repeating these lies that CSIS and the Fiveeyes intelligence services pay them to repeat online, it doesn't change anything. Now, to those who are brainwashed, unfortunately, with this trauma-based mind control they've been subjected to for years, with this drivel that the Fiveeyes intelligence services put out to lie to you about literally everything with their controlled media, unfortunately, they might look at this and think, because more people are repeating these lies, they must be true. And it's complete nonsense. It wouldn't matter at all if 1 or 2 people were speaking the truth and 10 million people were lying. The truth is self-evident, and anyone with basic common sense can put two and two together here. So let's look at these ridiculous comments here, a few of them. So obvious that the intelligence agencies completely control these fake comment sections on YouTube and all of these video sites. But let's take a look at a few of them here. Okay, so this person, Stephster71, says, since the mid-'80s, every government, liberal and conservative, have ignored warnings from CSIS. Of course, so you're right away, they're turning the people who are the culprits, who are involved in this, our intelligence services. There's no possible way that the drugs could be getting into the country with the type of sophisticated technology they have to stop this stuff if our intelligence services were not a part of it. Yet he's on here defending CSIS, and you can tell that these are just people who the Fiveeyes intelligence services control, who are paid to post these ridiculous comments, all lies, all trying to deflect away and pushing these stupid blame China narratives that have no basis in reality. But they're correct in thinking that if they repeat these lies over and over with enough people, that there will be a lot of people who will start to accept them, unfortunately. So he says, let that sink in. So how long will the U.S. let an enemy force amass on its northern border? Today, even Canadian banks are involved in dirty money. $1 trillion, it stands to reason that the entire Canadian economy is now rolling on dirty money. Now, this is the idiocy here. 7 cartels, 1,400 gangs, 700 IRGC agents, 28 senior IRGC members, thousands of terrorist supporters. Oh, is he referring to those quote-unquote terrorist supporters who the state funds to go down to these fake protests? These actors posing as Palestinian protesters? He must be referring to them, I guess, right? As the quote-unquote terrorist supporters. They're state-funded actors, and they go down and do their job to help the state justify shutting down freedoms. That's what that's about, Stephster, but you know that very well. You're just somebody who's paid to come on here on behalf of CSIS and the Fiveeyes intelligence services and just blatantly lie. And again, this is just probably somebody associated with the military, because that's their job, is to go online and lie about these things on behalf of our intelligence services, who are directly connected to the military as well. Then he says, think Venezuela, think Cuba, think Mexico, think China, think Iran. Now put them all together. Yeah, and like all of those countries aren't completely controlled and don't have puppet governments, right? Stephster, apparently Stephster71 didn't see what happened or chooses to ignore what happened during the biggest scam ever perpetrated, when all of these countries forced their citizens into lockdowns, told them they had to wear masks to enter grocery stores, and everything like that. So apparently this commenter here conveniently missed that when all of those countries, which are also puppet governments, when the Mexico police chief, just like all of these other Freemason police chiefs throughout all different countries, all of a sudden at the same time were told to go on and pretend that they had COVID to recite this stupid script. I guess Stephster didn't notice that or wasn't aware of it, or chooses to just conveniently ignore that. So his comment is just ridiculous, and you can tell that these are CSIS people on here to lie for CSIS. Their job is just to lie, and there's thousands and thousands of them. And this is how these intelligence services attempt to distort perception management. It is clear and obvious that CSIS and the Fiveeyes intelligence services, the RCMP and Canadian police are complicit in facilitating the distribution of narcotics throughout the country. There is no possible way that this could be going on with the technology that they have, which can be used to spy on their own citizens. There's no possible way that those drugs could be getting in with that type of technology if it was being used for what these people claim it is. They're lying about everything, and they're involved in facilitating this. There's no way you would have any drugs in the country. They could shut it all down if they wanted to, if they were actually doing what they tell you they're doing. And if not, if they're just incapable of doing it, that would tell you they're completely incompetent. So it's one of these two things. Either the police and our intelligence services are completely inept, or they're blatantly lying to you and taking part in facilitating the drug trade. And this person is just a ridiculous paid liar of the state. He's a part of the communitarian system, most likely military connected. And yeah, just this is what they do. They flood the comment sections with absolute nonsense. And if anyone posts something real in these comment sections challenging any of this, it'll usually get erased by YouTube, just to distort people's perception management, because the Fiveeyes intelligence services exerted enormous control over all of these major social media platforms. Then you get the next Canadian military Freemason operative here, lying again here, posting this nonsense about CCP invested in mines, real estate, and minerals and businesses. Canada was not infiltrated. China have more cartels than Canada. How do you think the drugs are getting into Canada there? Hockey dad science? How are they getting in there? Mr. Commenter? I mean, how does he think that could be going on without there being some sort of large-scale international distribution of the stuff, right? I mean, China has some of the most sophisticated technology as well to spy on their citizens. That's out there in the open right now. So they should be able to stop any of that from getting in without any questions asked, unless it was being facilitated on a large-scale level, which is the truth. So this is just more nonsense, pushing the ridiculous blame China narrative. Anyone who's looked into this knows that Chairman Mao it wasn't just a natural revolution. Obviously, all of these revolutions are funded, right? Where did the money come from to fund Chairman Mao? Well, if you look it up, you'll see many, many pictures of Chairman Mao and Henry Kissinger shaking hands and having a good laugh, okay? So China doesn't act of their own volition. They're a puppet government just like all of the others. They're just in a more advanced state of communism because these criminals from the bankers wanted to test it out there, this communist system, to see how it was going to work before pushing to impose it on the rest of the world. So this is just more preposterous nonsense by someone who's just knowingly lying and attempting to distort people's perception management. And most of them on here are Freemasons and or people connected with the military who are paid to post these drivel comments to reinforce the lies of CSIS and the Fiveeyes intelligence services, and to attempt to turn attention away from their involvement in drug trafficking throughout Canada. Okay, now here's actually surprisingly, here's a decent comment here. Most of what he says is true. The vast majority of drug trafficking globally is run by U.S. intel and the CIA. Well, that's true to an extent at the top. However, the Fiveeyes intelligence services all take part in it. So it's kind of a network. But he's correct, too. At the top there, you've got the CIA running these things for sure. And who puts all of these quote-unquote cartels into place? Well, we know who it is, right? They're not organic. They're set up, obviously, just like their the arms that they have, all of these guns that they get. Where are they getting them from? Are they just coming out of thin air? No, the CIA is providing them. This dude is a narc and will never tell the truth. He's simply pants. Well, of course, he's military associated, and he's speaking to cover up the crimes of CSIS. So of course he is, and he's covered in satanic Freemasonic tattoos, as most of these military thugs are, who lie about these things. So, yeah, actually, I mean, that comment, for the most part, correct. And then below it, Vancouver is China's base for attacking. Okay, yeah, blame China again. Just the Fiveeyes intelligence drivel of blaming China for everything that they're involved in doing. So anytime the Fiveeyes intelligence services, including CSIS, are involved in committing crimes, they just blame China because China's already a puppet government, and they've already agreed to this whole thing where they can just blame them without any, the deceit involved in this thing. So just nonsense. And as you can see there, you got another guy who's a UFC fighter who gets told to go in there and make these comments, or looks like that anyway. Because of course Freemasonry controls your ability to get any sort of gig in the UFC, or as a musician or as an artist in any way. You're going to have to whore yourself out to the Brotherhood to be able to get even heard about as a musician, as an artist, as a UFC fighter, anything like that. You're going to have to whore out your dignity at the Masonic Lodge, and you're going to have to agree to do whatever the state tells you to do and recite your script about China being the reason for all the drug trafficking. It's complete nonsense, and this is CSIS and Fiveeyes intelligence propaganda.